This episode is brought to you by The Build, a new podcast from the guys behind Sincera, Mike O'Sullivan and Ian Myers. They built their company by figuring out clever solutions to a few important ad tech problems in their industry. And that's exactly what this show is about. Mike and Ian interview some of the smartest tech minds in the biz to hear about how they identified opportunities, solved their hardest challenges, and grew their businesses in the process. Listen to The Build with Mike O'Sullivan wherever you get your podcasts.
So the very first version was this small benchmarking tool that I mentioned, which was basically just something that I did on the side as a little project. So when I'm building early stage, what is very important for me and where I see a lot of startups maybe going a bit in the wrong direction is to really focus on what makes your product great and not to get lost in all the technical cool things that you could do. You don't have to redo authentication. You can just reuse something that already exists. And what this meant for me was building everything serverless on AWS. My name is Catalina Turlea. I'm the CEO and founder of Lovelaice.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
Most
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it.
It's not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Catalina Turlea is enabling you to streamline your AI implementation from weeks of iteration to validation in days. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech Domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, I was building my startup and went hunting for that perfect .com and found next to nothing. So I did what every founder does, settled. Here's what I wish someone had told me. You're building a tech startup, just get a .tech domain. It instantly tells investors and customers what you're about. Don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice. This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If your team is collecting large volumes of logs, metrics, and traces, but still struggling to get timely answers, Mesmo can help. Mesmo is an active telemetry platform that processes and enriches observability data in real time before it's stored or analyzed. That means lower data volume, lower cost, and faster root cause analysis across your existing observability tools. To see how it works, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. If you are building with AI coding tools, but your features keep breaking, you need to check out BrainGrid. It is the product management agent for AI builders. BrainGrid turns messy ideas into clear specs, tasks, and prompts that coding agents like Cursor and Claude can actually build the right way. Ship real software, not fragile prototypes. Start free at braingrid.ai. Catalina Turlea is originally from Romania, growing up in the countryside there. Post getting her bachelor's, she moved to Austria for her master's and landed in Germany for 13 years. She is married with a 3-year-old daughter and many pets. She loves to spend time with her family in nature and in the mountains. She used to do a lot of sports, but being a startup founder doesn't really allow for as much running and hiking these days. She also is into calligraphy, which she calls her hidden superpower. Catalina has been building products for 14 years and recently was running a small tech consultancy for startups. What she observed was that a lot of products contained an AI feature, but the feature, quote unquote, was based on a prompt, didn't work well, and wasn't a good fit for the users. Eventually, she and her co-founder realized they saw the same problem and built a platform to support product teams in building valuable AI features. This is the creation story of Lovelaice.
So I have a lot of experience in building products and more than 14 years. And last year, I switched from my previous role. And before figuring out what I want to do next, I ran a small tech consultancy for startups, where I worked on more than 10 different projects from a strategic point of view, but also hands-on coding. A lot of these projects had some sort of an AI feature integrated already. But how that looked like is that someone had written a prompt, more or less copy-paste from somewhere, or just a rather basic prompt. They had chosen a model based on what was popular at the time, mostly GPT-4, and they released it, and it was this entity like alive there in their product. They knew it's not working optimally, but nobody really knew how to interact with it. And initially, I just built myself a benchmarking platform that would just take one prompt and run it at the same time across multiple LLMs, just for me to better understand the technology and to be able to better guide them how to deal with the technology, basically. And I saw that even with this very small step, they could actually achieve so much more accuracy just by pairing the model together with the problem that they were trying to solve. At the same time, my co-founder, whose background is in product management, she was working in an AI fintech, and she was seeing the same things, but from a product management side. And she was also the first one that actually saw my vision of building something that supports teams to build with the new technology in a sustainable way. Because as an engineer myself, it's still mind-blowing to me that we do so much testing, like unit testing and integration testing, and we have development and beta and production versions for deterministic code. But for non-deterministic AI, we just take it and ship it to production. This I find fascinating. Lovelaice is a platform that supports product teams to build AI features based on data and with measurable impact. We are lowering the technical barrier of what it means to build with AI. So you can do it yourself regardless of your technical background without any engineering resources needed. So you come in with your prompt, with your test data set, you run it across multiple LLMs, and then you try to find the best setup for you with real data that you can back your decisions on.
Let's dive into the MVP for Lovelaice then, and that'll be interesting where you start. But tell me about that first version of the product you built, how long it took you to build, and what sort of tools you're using to bring it to life.
So the very first version was this small benchmarking tool that I mentioned, which was basically just something that I did on the side as a little project. I have been building in startups for many years now, and I'm a second-time founder. So I've already built one product from scratch and scaled it over 6 years. And through my experience, I've seen some patterns that work over and over again, or at least that work for me, because I think there's no perfect solution. So when I'm building early stage, what is very important for me and where I see a lot of startups maybe going a bit in the wrong direction is to really focus on putting effort in what makes your product great, and not to get lost in all the technical cool things that you could do. For example, you don't have to redo authentication. You can just reuse something that already exists. So you can just focus on the core of your product. And what this meant for me was building everything serverless on AWS with like as many managed services as possible. So I can actually just focus on writing the actual code that make Lovelaice what it is. One important aspect of Lovelaice, because we target non-technical users, we need the UX to really fit or to make it better than what is out there in the other platforms. Funnily enough, my first version of the platform, because I am an engineer, looked very similar to the other platforms that are built from engineers to engineers. So maybe in this aspect, what you would say, the MVP qualities changed a little bit, because we're constantly trying to see, okay, where is friction in this process that we can take out, but rather than what features we still need to add. It's more, let's focus on making it smooth. That is one part that is critical to the product, which you would normally not, let's say, make it a priority in an MVP.
Tell me about maybe a decision or trade-off you had to make in, making that smoothness happen, right? Or removing some of that friction. A decision or trade-off on that early version of the product to make it happen, or maybe even some feature limitation or acceptance of tech debt or anything like that. Tell me about one of those you had to work through and how you coped with the decision.
There's so many ways in which you can experiment with AI, and because it is non-deterministic, any of these experimentation aspects might bring you some surprising new insight. But the challenge is if you put 20 different configuration toggles in front of a user that's just starting, they're just gonna get lost. So this is maybe one of the biggest challenges that we are solving still, is how do you make it flexible enough that people can still try out all the different combinations, but not overwhelming for someone just starting over or just starting into the field. That is definitely something where we're trying to take out as much as possible and still know, okay, we still have the possibility to do this very complicated thing and this very complicated thing, but let's focus on the first experience, the lowering the time from start to this first aha moment. So that's maybe the kind of compromises that we have been doing so far.
This episode is brought to you by The Build, a new podcast from the guys behind Sincera, Mike O'Sullivan and Ian Myers. They built their company by figuring out clever solutions to a few important ad tech problems in the industry, and that's exactly what this show is about. Mike and Ian interview some of the smartest tech minds at Magnite, Chalice, DoubleClick, and LiveRamp to hear about how they identified opportunities, solved their hardest challenges, and grew their businesses in the process. This show is for you if you've had some of these breakthrough moments yourself, or if you're seeking inspiration for the next one. Listen to The Build with Mike O'Sullivan wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech Domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, when I was building my own tech startup, I went on the hunt for that elusive.com. Looked high, looked low, and guess what I found? Nothing. What I did find cost me an arm and a leg. So I did what every founder does under pressure. Threw in extra letters, settled for the less than optimal name. And here's what I wish someone had said to me back then. Noah, you're building a tech startup. Just get a .tech domain. Tech startup, .tech domain. It could not be more obvious. It tells investors, customers, and anyone who looks at your website, really, that tech is at the core of your build. And I've kicked myself plenty since, especially when I see the clean and sharp names tech companies have landed on .tech. Nothing.tech, 1x.tech, Aurora.tech, CES.tech, Ultra.tech, Alice.tech, Neon.tech, Blaze.tech, Pi.tech. You get the idea. So take it from someone who learned it the hard way. If you're building a tech startup, don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice. Okay, let's move forward then. How are you progressing and maturing the product and kind of taking it to the next level? And to wrap that question in a box, what I'm really looking for is, how do you build your roadmap? How do you go about deciding that, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with Lovelaice?
We spent the best part of this year validating our hypothesis. So we talked to maybe 50 product teams to see which of the pain points that we identified resonate with their experience and try to understand where are their biggest pain points at the moment. And this was, of course, or still is, a very big source of inspiration or guidance for our roadmap. One thing that I've learned throughout all my startup experience is also that you shouldn't build for what you think people need, but actually what people really want. So we have a lot of ideas how things could look like, but we try not to implement it from our best understanding, but if possible, to implement it first on an actual use case. I will give an example. We have a built-in evaluation framework in the platform. So it does deterministic evaluations, it does error analysis, but also LLM as a judge. And we actually built this as part of a feedback process with one of our pilot customers. And I think the result is different than if we would have built it from our best assumptions beforehand, if that makes sense.
Okay, I hear you saying we. How did you go about building your team? What do you look for in those people to indicate that they are the winning horses to join you?
My co-founder, she's also my sister. She was the first one that actually was able to understand my idea and see the potential behind it. And we basically, both of us, spent our career building impactful products. She worked in fintech, I worked in health tech. It's been the red thread throughout our careers. And since it's also my sister, I know her really well. It just makes collaborate. I wanted my whole life to actually work together with her. So this was a bit like a dream come true. In terms of the rest of the team, I'm a very big fan of building very small, efficient teams. I don't believe in growth for the sake of growth. Even right now, it's not a topic, but also back a few years back when everybody, the only thing that mattered was headcount. That's not the sort of like the value that I relate to. I really like to build teams where everybody believes in the vision, but also where everybody has a chance to develop themselves further, to learn something, and to keep growing in their role or exploring new possibilities. So going from front end to full stack or to back end development, I've always encouraged such transitions or learning path. So right now we have a fully female team. Only our co-founder, Anton, whose background is in B2B, he's the only man on the team. Otherwise, we're all women.
This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If you're responsible for reliability, performance, or platform architecture, you already know the problem. Telemetry volume is growing faster than teams can manage it. Mesmo addresses this by moving observability upstream. Instead of storing everything and asking questions later, Mesmo processes telemetry in motion, filtering, transforming, and enriching logs, metrics, and traces before they reach your observability backend. The result is cleaner data, reduced ingestion costs, and faster root cause analysis using the tools you already rely on. Mesmo integrates with platforms like Datadog, Dynatrace, and open source stacks, giving teams more control without adding operational overhead. This is especially useful for platform engineers and SREs supporting complex distributed systems where context and speed matter. To see how active telemetry works in practice, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. Building with AI coding tools is exciting until the moment things start breaking. You ask for a small change and suddenly 3 other features stop working. AI gets confused, misses edge cases, and loses track of your intent. The problem is not code generation. The problem is planning. That is why BrainGrid exists. BrainGrid acts as your product management agent. It writes clear specification, maps UX flows, asks the clarifying questions you forgot to ask, and breaks big ideas into engineering-grade tasks that AI coding tools can build reliably. It guides Cursor, Claude Code, Replit, Windsurf, and others so they deliver features that work and keep working. Founders use BrainGrid to build real AI-native SaaS products without a technical background. If you want reliable features instead of fragile prototypes, try BrainGrid for free at braingrid.ai. That's braingrid.ai. Let's move into scalability, and this will be interesting. I'm curious about how you approached scalability from the beginning, and have there been interesting areas where you've had to fight scale as you've grown?
So by taking the approach with serverless, there's 2 main reasons why I prefer this. First is because as early stage, when you don't have so much traffic, you actually only pay for what you use, so it's much more convenient. But also because it is serverless, you actually have this implicit scalability that built into your service. As I mentioned in my previous startup, the base was also the same, and it scaled from 100 users to 100,000 users with, let's say, no problem. Of course, there were architectural changes to the infrastructure, but the backbone of it still stayed the same. With Lovelaice, though, there is one part of scalability that I maybe did not expect in the beginning, and it's related to the LLMs, because they can run for a long time, so latency is a big aspect of it. And serverless is made for quick responses, quick feedback, and so on. So there I had to rethink my approach a few times and see, okay, how do we run things in parallel, but not trigger any API limits, at the same time, not let the user wait too long, and how do we do this at scale? Like how the scale being the amount of LLM calls you run at once. So you can, in theory, you can run as many as you want. So how does it perform with 100, with 1,000, with 10,000? How does it look like? Is everything still working? And if something breaks, how do you find it out?
So as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built thus far with Lovelaice, what are you most proud of?
We're still at a very early stage. What really pushes me, what gives me the motivation is right now I'm actually leading the company. So I'm also the CEO and the CTO, and I do everything from fundraising to sales to content, marketing, outreach. I don't do it alone, but I am part in all of this and also in the strategy behind it, which was not the case before. I was more focused on the technical side. So this for me it's a huge learning opportunity, and I've learned so many new things. And it's of course very exciting to see how to tackle these topics that are not related to tech and how we can do it in a way that makes sense for the business. And what I'm really proud of is that we are a female-founded company. So we have 2 female founders on board. I think that's pretty cool. And as I said, I also have a daughter, and one of my main motivation is to be a role model and make sure there's female founder faces out there that hopefully she can relate to when she grows up.
Okay, let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
When you have the idea and you start looking into the market and okay, there's nobody doing this, and you write like your little pitch deck, the first version of it in some sort of a Canva where you try to do your best, then you start sending it around and you have this impression that people are gonna immediately see what you're building and just jump on it from the beginning. And if I look now at the first pitch decks that I sent and probably all these investors that I burned because I sent them something that right now I'd probably be embarrassed of, it's just like the process of, or like the learning process that you go through from the beginning until you get more validation on your idea and more feedback and understand how to phrase it in a way that people actually understand what it is and how to sell it to customers and how to sell it to investors, because it's 2 different things. So yeah, I would say that's probably, if I could do something different, I would probably not have sent those early emails so early stage, and probably sent them with a bit more meat on the bone about now.
This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Your coding agents have access to your code base. Maybe you even connected other tools via MCPs. But access doesn't mean context. Agents can't reason across MCPs. They don't know your architectural decisions, your team's patterns, or why the API was shaped the way it is. So agents look in the wrong place and deliver bad outputs. Then you spend time correcting. More loops, more tokens. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory. Okay, let's move forward then. What does the future look like for Lovelaice, for the product, for what you think for the industry, for your team, all the things?
As we look into how product teams are building currently with AI, there's still a lot of, let's say, unstructured processes. And it makes sense because it's a new technology, everybody's figuring it out. And that makes a lot of sense that it's also so easy to get started, right? AI always returns to something. So it has this magic that sort of pulls you in. I can make up a seemingly very good answer very fast. You can already integrate me into your product. I do believe that as time goes by and we start getting, us as users, start getting maybe a bit fed up with just AI slop everywhere, actually building features that have an impact and they deliver value to your users beyond just the AI hype label, I think it will be what will make products survive in the next years. Like very generic chatbot is not going to be enough. It's already not enough, but let's say market penalty for that is not yet that big. But the more products raise this bar, the bigger the difference is going to be, and the more obvious the gap between product teams that actually have a systematic way of testing their features and they want to deliver expert level insights confidently and with data, and the product teams that just ship AI to say that they have something. We really see Lovelaice becoming a backbone of this process of building products, similar to how product analytics became a backbone of product development, right? Before product analytics, it was management that said, let's do this feature, or the button should be here. And once we had amplitude and mix panel, they actually proved them wrong on every second decision. And we started building products that actually deliver value, and we can measure that value for the users. And with AI, it's a bit more than just tracking the data. AI changes the economics of software, right? Before, if you would just get one more user on your platform, it would actually cost you nothing. Maybe not nothing, but very small infrastructure cost. Right now with AI, every single usage costs you something, and your most dedicated users are actually the ones that cost you the most. I don't know if you know this, but the CEO of Lovable posted a story a few months back that when they launched Lovable in the beginning on a $20 a month subscription, someone prompted the app for 36 hours straight, basically summing up AI credits much more than the subscription. And this is something that still products need to understand, that AI is cutting through your margins and you should implement it only in parts that bring you a return on investment and they are a valid business case for you.
Catalina, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to, and why.
So there's a lot of female founders that I have in my network that have achieved great things, and their sort of dedication and determination really motivates me to keep going. I'm very close to the startup ecosystem in Munich, where there's a lot of examples of that. I'm also a very big mental health advocate. So having built a mental health company before, for me, it's also a lot of these things start with me also after leaving. So building in a way that is sustainable, that, as you also said, startup and family life is a lot to handle, and you still have to make sure you have your priorities straight. So I also admire a lot of the mom startup founders, or founders in general, it doesn't have to be startup, that actually can put this together and show up in both aspects of their lives, which I find really impressive and inspiring for me.
Catalina, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world, and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit for 14 years now?
So first is talk to people and validate your idea. I think the startup world is filled with good ideas that never took off. There's 3 key aspects into making a startup work, and 2 of them are up to you and 1 is out of your control. So it's the product, the team, and then it's the timing. So you can be very strong on have the perfect product and the perfect team, but if you are there at the wrong timing, there's really nothing you can do. So my biggest advice would be to validate before building anything. Probably we don't know what the future is going to look like with AI. I think it's hard for everybody to imagine it, but still making sure that people are willing to pay for something before you actually start building it. it's a fantastic way to actually identify the pain points. And you do have to pivot a lot in the beginning to match your skills and the problem that you're trying to solve with exactly how the pain point looks like in real life. And that might be phrasing it differently, but also tweaking the product a little bit, tweaking the audience so that you actually match the two.
That's fantastic advice. Well, Catalina, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for telling the creation story of Lovelaice.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI. They already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.